Now, we have an amazing potential of using the bullet of words, statements, sentences that have the power of hurting somebody's emotion, that have the power of penetrating somebody's heart and hurting their sentiment, their dignity, their pride, and their self-esteem. Because right now, that is what is really happening from citizens of both of the sides, Nepal and India, in this border issue of Nepal and India. Citizens of both of the countries, they have started using abusive, harassing words that somehow disbalances the dignity, pride, and self-esteem of people of both of the countries. We have started leveling the entire country with one or two negative words. We have started generalizing the citizens of whole of the country with one or two negative words, which is not leading us towards any of the solution, which is only leading us towards the battleground of emotional conflict. Now, there are a lot of people who are giving opinion about relationship, and they are saying that the relationship between two governments is very crucial. Now, in my opinion, if the relationship between government of two countries, it goes down, that relationship can actually improve. That relationship can improve with the change in some of the policies. That relationship can improve with the signing of some new agreements. The relationship between government, it can somehow improve with the change in political parties. But once there is the spark of conflict in the psychology of citizens, once there is conflict among citizens of two or more countries, that relationship, it can actually be a difficult work to heal that relationship. Why? Because it is so easy to spark conflict, but it is an absolute difficult work to bring things into a peaceful environment. And on top of that, when conflict starts to happen in the psychology of citizens, the government, they start to sell those conflicts in order to buy more votes. Even the media, they start to sell those conflicts in order to get more attention of people. And who bears the consequences? It is the citizens who bear the consequences. And in case of Nepal and India, one thing that we really have to remember is there are a lot of Indians who are in Nepal, who are studying, staying, and working in Nepal. There are a lot of Nepalese who are studying, staying, and working in India. There are a lot of Nepalese who have Indian dreams, whose dreams are somehow connected with India. There are a lot of Indians whose dreams are somehow connected with Nepal. There are a lot of benefits that India gets from Nepal, and there are a lot of benefits that Nepal gets from India. But when the spark of conflict goes into fire, instead of it going down to a finish line, I'm scared if it continues to happen. If it continues to happen, and the consequences are somehow to be faced by a lot of citizens. Now, one thing that we truly have to understand is when the emotion of anger fights the emotion of anger, who wins? Both of those emotions, they get more magnified, they get amplified, and the emotion simply increases. Nobody wins. When a logic fights emotion, who wins? The emotion of anger wins for a while, but after some time, the logic is hurt because the emotion of anger goes down. But what do you think about it? When a logic fights logic, what happens? When a logic fights logic, the logic which is more sensible, which is more rational, and which is more logical, that logic is heard, isn't it? This issue, a border, this is a logical issue. This is not really an emotional issue. This is a logical issue. This is an issue which has to be discussed intellectually, which has to be discussed from our mind, which has to be discussed by bringing the facts, which has to be discussed by bringing documents, which has to be discussed by bringing some more evidences. All the evidences, all the facts, they have to be kept in the floor, on the table, and then we have to discuss what truth really looks like. And once we have figured out what truth really looks like, and then in the second level, we have to discuss what justice should really be on this particular time. And once we have decided what justice should really be, and then we have to decide what kind of decision has really to be taken. But right now, both citizens of both of the countries, somehow we are bounded on the boundary of patriotism to such a high extent that we are forgetting, or we are missing the point of discovering the truth. We human beings, we have this potential of curiosity. That curiosity can allow us to discover the truth. And once we have the truth, we can decide what justice should really look like. And once we know what justice should really look like, then we can decide what kind of decision can really be taken. And this would not really happen only from the side of government. These discussions can really happen from the side of we citizens. We can discuss it, and we are discussing it, but the discussion right now is really getting more abusive. It is really getting more harassing, and right now the discussion have really become emotional discussion instead of being intellectual discussion. This is not really a India versus Nepal thing. This is not really about who is more powerful and who is less powerful, who is a big brother, who is a small brother. This is not really about who has more weapon, who has less weapon. This is not really about who is a free country, which is not a free country. This is about what is wrong and what is right. This is about what is truth, what is false. This is about what is justice and what is not justice. This is about who is dominating, who is not dominating. This is more about finding out what is the right way to go through and which is the country which has to get the advantage at this particular moment of time. This is about discovery of truth. This is not really about binding ourselves on the boundary of patriotism, because the kind of boundary that we are creating on ourselves, it is simply creating consequences in lives of those people who are somehow dependent on the opposite country, my dear friends. And And for us to enjoy this debate, for us to have an emotionally aggressive conversation, we do not have any right to create consequences on lives of those Indians or those Nepalese who are somehow dependent on the other country, isn't it, my dear friends? It is so fine for us to disagree, it is so fine for us to debate, but on the process of debating or having disagreement, it is not really fine to really be aggressive in such a way that we start harassing somebody else. It is fine to use bold statement, commanding statement, it is fine to satire, it is fine to use humorous things, but it is not really fine when we start abusing the complete nationality of somebody else. So my humble request to whole of the citizens of Nepal and India, it is so fine for us to speak on what we truly believe in, but it is not really fine to harm or degrade the value of somebody's sentiment or somebody's dignity and pride. Let us maintain self-respect and respect of somebody with whom we are discussing, and let us continue this debate if we want to continue this debate. But let us continue this debate in such a way that we are not only disagreeing in order to disagree, but we are actually trying to find out what truth really is at the moment of time. And while we are discussing the fact, let us also maintain peace, because ultimately that is what we truly need at the moment of time, for the present and also for the future, which is definitely good, not ugly, for both of us. But that goodness can really happen if we maintain ourselves at the moment of time in our now.